Hello and welcome to Beyond the Sale, Real Estate Mastery, helping agents elevate their real estate business. My name is Tomm Dool.
And I'm Chris Fenton.
And today we're going to talk about mastering the listing process. So Chris, as a listing agent, I think you have a lot of insight on this topic, so let's just dig right into it.
Sounds good.
Initial inquiries, client engagements. How do we effectively handle initial inquiries from clients?
Yeah, I want to talk about this whole process, right? And this whole listing process is all about setting expectations every step of the way. So everyone does this a little bit differently. I'm going to go through how I do it, but the key here is that every time you communicate with a client, you want to set expectations about what's next or what's 3 steps down the road. And that's the key to mastering this process. So when I get an initial inquiry on the phone, so what that means is someone's calling in to have their house priced. Yeah. The first thing I do is I take their information, talk to them a little bit, and then I start setting their expectations about next steps. So for me, I do a two-part pricing or a 2-part CMA. I make an appointment to go out and take a look at the house, and that's a fact-finding mission. And then I go away, I do research, and then I meet with them a second time and we go through a listing presentation. So I'm explaining that to them on the phone. And the reason I'm explaining that to them on the phone is I don't want to get out there at the house and we go through the whole house and they say, so what's it worth? And then I say, I can't tell you that right now, right? Yeah. And they're going to ask me that unless I get ahead of that. So I'm setting their expectations. Hey, this is what my process is. I'm going to come out, take a look at your house. I tell them I'm a bit analytical. I'm going to have a bunch of notes. I want to get to know everything that makes your house special. Yeah. And then I'm going to go away. I'm going to do a whole bunch of research, and we're going to get together a second time at my office in order to go over what your house is worth and why. Does that make sense? And they always say yes. Yeah. And now we've set the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you set that process and you do go to their home and you do your investigation and your evaluation, what is the walk us through the process you do to conduct that evaluation?
Yeah, so let's talk about the home visit, because the next step is the home visit. Yeah. And what I'm doing in the home visit is setting the stage for the next visit. So from my point of view, there's two reasons to do the visit at the home. One is I need to get to know the property. I need to know everything about the property. But 2 is to build rapport and get to know the client and start that process of beginning trust. I can't effectively help them sell their house unless they trust me. Yes. And they can't trust me unless they know me, right? So we always say they have to know you, like you, trust you. So we have to start that process. They already know me or they wouldn't be talking to me. Now we have to get through the like and trust part. So I'm going through the house and I'm actively listening, because it depends on the person. Everyone deals with this situation differently, like the seller. Some people want you to just walk around the house by yourself. Yeah. Most people want to show you around, and then there's a subset that really want to show you around and give you a ton of information. And whatever it is, you want to just actively listen. So understand what they're saying, make some notes, tell them back what they're saying so that they know that you're understanding it. But I make a special point of really oohing and awing about the things that make the home special. I want them to know that I understand what makes their house special, because they don't want to hire a listing agent that doesn't understand their house, right? So that's the biggest purpose of that meeting. I'm also getting all kinds of information about their motivation, like, are they really wanting to sell? Is this something that's down the road? Is it now? I'm sussing all of this out as I'm talking to them to figure out how I can better help them. But at the end of the day, it's all about providing value, and that's just the next part of the process. So at the end of that meeting in the house, I say, before they can ask me what the house is worth, because even if I told them on the phone, half the time they still ask me, I tell them, so now I need to go and take a look at the comparable sales. I'm going to spend some time doing research, and then let's meet, and I set that appointment for the next meeting right there on the spot. I need that in the calendar. I need it on their calendar.
Perfect. Yeah. So then setting the price right. What's the process that you should go to make sure that you're setting the price right? And also, how do you manage the seller's expectations if they don't believe that the price that you're recommending is not what they had in mind?
Yeah. Helping manage the seller's expectation on price is 90% of being a listing agent. And that is from the very beginning all the way through the whole process. I tell every seller I work with this, so that's no secret if anyone that's worked with me. In my experience, 95+% of us human beings walking this planet believe our house is worth more than it is. I've been doing multiple listing presentations every week for 20-something years. High markets, low markets, up markets, down markets, flat markets. It doesn't seem to matter. The vast majority of us believe our house is worth more than it is. So the listing presentation is really about helping them come to terms with the reality of their situation. So I have a for me, I do a presentation actually in this room where we go on the TV screen, we go through a PowerPoint presentation. And in that presentation, the first thing I do is I do it in this order on purpose. I start with telling them about the real estate industry and about us. Mm-hmm. It's really about explaining my value proposition to them. Why am I somebody they want to hire? Why am I somebody they want to hire over the competition?
Yeah.
But also educating them on the process and how all these things they don't know, because people think that all realtors do is put up a sign, take some pictures, and wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And there's, you're in operations with us. There's so much more that goes on in this. So it's letting them know all these things that they don't know. And so here's the problem, here's the solution. Here's the problem, here's the solution. Mm-hmm. So that's the first part of the presentation. The second part of the presentation is pricing strategy, and I think this is really important. I go through the logic of pricing. I use statistics to show them that the longer a house sits on the market, the less amount of money you're going to get for it, right? And it's bulletproof, ironclad logic. I go through that. I go through some other stuff just about in and around the market and how the market works. I talk about how some of the houses on the market, I talk about two markets. In my experience, there's two markets mm-hmm. in real estate. There is what I call in the market and then out of the market. So of all the houses in the market, if we go on tour, right, and we go look at 10, 12, 15, 20 houses, you and I know which 3 houses are going to sell, mm-hmm. right? And we're going to call our clients on those houses. Yeah. So I explain that to them, that you really want to be grabbing people's attention early, right? And that means a sharp price and good marketing. So that's the second part. And then to really answer your question, the third part is about what's the house worth and why, and that's about showing them comparable sales and explaining to them how we're looking for comparable sales that are similar in area, size, location, function, feature, and that we're not going to find, except for new construction, we're not going to find any comparable sale that's identical. So we then adjust for it. And I bring them through the process, looking through the photos, and I take the time, and at the end of it, I ask them what they think their house is worth. And you'd be surprised, they tend to come fairly close. They're usually still a little bit high, mm-hmm. not always, but they tend to come pretty close. And then I basically say, okay, and this is what I think might be the lowest it might sell for. So now we've kind of got this bracketed price of what they think and what I think would be the price it would absolutely sell. And now we've got a starting place to go into that listing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And important that they feel that they have input into it by, you gave them all the information, you showed them, totally. They can look at it, you give them kind of a price range, you're not telling them this is what you need to list for, and letting them to feel like they have a little bit of control and saying, hey, well, maybe we should go for this price, or
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that it's their house, it's their decision. I'm trying to help them make a good decision, mm-hmm. and that's all I'm here for. That's my whole job, right? Yep. And if it's a past client that I work with 3 times, there's a high level of trust. If I tell them a price, they're going to be like, okay, Chris knows what he's talking about. Yep. But if this is someone I just met, that trust isn't really established yet. Yep. So it's important. It's important anyways, but it's important that they know what their house is worth.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when it comes down to commission, how do you explain your fees to them, and how is potential clients asked to reduce your fees? How do you react to that?
No, just kidding. Sort of. So I like this question because I was actually just talking about this the other day with one of our agents who was dealing with a newer agent in another market that they're working with as referral partners, and this newer agent went to price 2 houses, and the seller came back and said, I want you to reduce your commission, something along these lines. I want you to reduce your commission because I'm also looking at listing with this other brokerage, and this brokerage, I won't name it, but this is a brokerage that's known for having very affordable commissions, right? So my advice to that person would be, my advice to all of you would be, decide if you're competing with other agents, because a listing presentation is a job interview as much as anything else.
Yes.
Are you competing with other agents based on price or value? Price or value? I am not going to get into a price competition with a brokerage whose model is to kind of provide a base service, a bare bone service.
A value service, right? Or not a value, sorry, a reduced.
Yeah, reduced commission. They're competing on money cost.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But that's not what I believe is the best way to help a seller. I believe the best way to help a seller is to expose them to the largest amount of people in the best possible light. And so I would never compete on price. Like, mm-hmm. I have a listing price. I have never moved off that listing price in 20 years, a listing commission set. This is my policy. I've had clients that have sold dozens of houses with us, and we have never ever moved off of that. So I moved that conversation over to, this is the value I provide. This is what we're going to do. If another agent is willing to list that for $3,000 less than I'm willing to list it for, that is fine. Can I help them get a higher price that's more than $3,000 above what that other agent might achieve? Can I communicate that? Do I believe that to be true?
Yeah.
I do, right?
Yeah.
And can I communicate that effectively? And that's really what I need to be doing. Now, I do want to say that people want options, right?
Yes.
Everybody wants options in the market. So I think a really great strategy is to go into a listing presentation with tiers of commission, but have the lowest tier be the commission structure that you're wanting. And then people can have higher commission structures with higher levels with higher standards. So maybe the base commission has photos and video and a virtual tour. The next one has photos, video, virtual tour, and staging, or different levels of service at different commission rates. Yeah. And give people those options, because as much as anything else, people are asking for a commission adjustment because they want options.
Yes.
So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, perfect. Those are some really good examples there. Preparing the home for listing. What advice would you give your listing clients to prepare their home? Yeah,
I think that this is important. So, man, this is a tough one, as agents know. So every single house I go into, almost every single house I go into, they ask me what they can do to improve the value. And there's always like little things you can do, and then there's big things you can do. So you really have to have a conversation with your client about on what level are they at asking that question. Are they prepared to blow out a wall and make it an open floor concept? Or are they more asking, like, do I declutter? So you should always have the basic conversation, I think, about decluttering, about first impressions at the front door. But it's really a conversation beyond that. Like, are you talking about potentially replacing the roof? Like, how far do you want to take this? Yeah. And then you have to have that conversation about timeline. If you're in a changing market, say you're in a declining market, you might go and do a renovation to improve the value, but you might lose some value in a declining market.
It takes you longer than you're expecting. Exactly. And is the cost of that renovation actually going to increase the value of your home? I mean, increase the value, but will it increase it for the amount of time that took you to do it, right? Like, totally. You got to make a profit on it, not just the cost, right?
And in my experience, most people don't want a complicated answer to that question of what should I do. Yeah. If they were really wanting you to tell them to blow out the wall, they probably wouldn't have talked to you in the first place. By the time they talk to a real estate agent, they're really thinking about selling. Yeah. So they're usually looking for a simpler answer. Bake some cookies, paint the entrance, simple stuff. Yeah. Generally.
Yeah, generally. Perfect. And creating an effective listing as their agent now. What are some of the key elements to make a compelling listing?
Okay, so my background is marketing. I went to university for marketing in the middle of my real estate career. I consider myself to be a business person and a marketer first, and a realtor or a salesperson second. So I look at this from a different point of view than I think most agents. In marketing 101, they teach you to figure out what the target market is. So the target market is, who is the person that's going to buy this property? What is the segment of the population that's going to buy this property? Mm-hmm. So I need to start by figuring that out. If it's a downsizer home on a single floor, then my segment is probably people 50, 60, 70 years old, right? If it's a big family home with tons of stairs, then it changes the market. Now I don't come out so now I have to craft a story with that information. And I don't ever come out and I'm not on the nose. I don't ever write family home or retirement home, because I live in a retirement home. I moved in there when I was in my 30s with my wife, when we didn't have any kids. And now we've got a family there. It's a rancher. It would be considered so you can never totally pigeonhole it. But you want to have an idea, and then you craft that message to meet that. So to me, this is how real estate information is consumed. It starts with photos. It's very multimedia. A write-up is not supposed to tell you everything about the property. It's supposed to tell you what the photos can't tell you, because they're going to have looked over the photos before they start reading it, right? So for me, a write-up is used for that purpose. Now you want to front load a write-up, and you want to front load photos, because people have short attention spans. When I get an email, I never read the entire email. I know you do, but I don't read the entire email. The same thing with the write-up. You need that first line to be the most important, and then I think the next sentence needs to have everything that makes that house special in one sentence, and then go into describing in more detail. Same thing with the photos. If I have a house that's really nice inside and it's okay outside, I'll have one outside photo, and we'll jump into that beautiful living room with the fireplace. But if this is about a shop and about a acreage, we're gonna have some outside photos first. It really want to front load that. And then it's everything. It's virtual tours, photos. I think all of that is necessary in order to really have your listing stand apart.
Yeah.
And then it's distribution from there.
Absolutely. So with marketing the property, what are the marketing strategies that you find different between different properties? So for instance, trailers or raw land or...
Yeah. I mean, the obvious one is just that things like raw land are simpler.
Yeah.
So, it's just about, again, getting to know what's special about that property. Is a drone necessary for a condo?
Yeah. Probably not.
Well, necessary by the water, then maybe
Yeah.
it is, right? It shows where it is in the neighborhood, but probably not.
Yeah.
It's definitely necessary for an acreage.
Yes.
So it's about using the right tools to craft the right message. Delivery of the message, is pretty straightforward in this day and age. You should have delivery channels set out. You should have your social media ads. You should have your website. You should have, obviously, the MLS system. So delivery channels tend to be very similar for all of those things. I'm not a big believer in print media. I know often a seller will come to you and say, what are you going to do about putting my ad in this specialty newspaper?
Yeah.
I don't think people buy real estate through newspapers. They're buying them online. So to me, the difference between different types has to do with the crafting of the message, not the distribution of the message.
Is there any marketing techniques that you do to target specific types of people?
Yeah.
Investors, non-investors?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of that's done through smart marketing, through like targeted marketing, through things like social media, like meta ads and things like that. You can get really granular with who you're targeting. You definitely want to get it in front of the right people. That's probably beyond the scope for most people. My advice around all of that is if you don't know how to do and get into meta ads and Google ads and all of that stuff, find someone that does and hire them. Yeah, you don't need to know all that. When you get to be a company our size, you'd start to do it in-house, but you don't need to start there.
And obviously, if you have a commercial property, you're going to approach your marketing completely different than you do if you're going to have a residential property.
Totally different. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's a completely different situation. Investment properties are about numbers. I don't have to tell you this. You work with investors for years. So it's, with investment properties, it's about making sure those numbers make sense, making sure you have information to back it up, and then making sure that's really front and center in your description.
Yeah, exactly. Having be more detail oriented with commercial, because they're going to want those stats, those numbers, where residential is more about the feelings and the lifestyle.
Yeah, they don't care about the heated toilet seat. They want a cap rate, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Exactly. So what role does open houses play
in residential sales?
Yeah.
I love open houses, and I know some realtors hate them and some realtors love them. I love them. I think they're a great thing. I think that the name of the game in real estate in this millennia is meeting people to buy your listing long before, or to buy a listing long before the listing comes on the market. Like, it's about meeting people upstream, further and further upstream, meet them on the internet 6 months before they're ready to go look at houses. And open houses are like that.
Yeah.
People often do open houses because they're not ready yet to go and really get serious, and they don't want to waste an agent's time. So they feel like this is a non-threatening way to do it. It's a great opportunity to meet people upstream. Are you going to sell the house that you're open housing? That happens maybe once a year. When we do a lot of open houses, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Is there any downsides to open houses?
No.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're great. I think anytime,
Absolutely.
There's a Grant Cardone that says conversations equal, what's he say? Conversations equal conversions.
Yeah.
Equal commissions. The more people you talk to about real estate, the better off.
Even the neighbor look at you, because you never know, they might come back to you. Because they want to list their house.
Or their friend. They might know a friend. You talk to enough people, impress enough people, and you'll start doing sales.
So reflecting and learning. This is how we're going to kind of close this out today. How do you evaluate your performance after the listing sale?
I love this. I love that question. So thank you for asking it.
Yeah,
I think it's important to use statistics. I think it's important to know. I'm always tracking what our agents are doing in terms of, are we having a better probability of selling our listings than the other it's in the marketplace? Are we selling them for closer to asking price than the others in the marketplace? And are we selling them faster? So those are three metrics that you can easily measure you can sit down and have that figured out for the year in 5 minutes using your software. And that really tells you if you have gaps in any of those. If you're not selling as quickly, then it's probably a pricing issue. You probably be needing to set your clients' expectations better. And throughout that whole process of giving feedback during showings, giving them enough information that they start to realize that the price isn't going to be effective for what they're trying to accomplish. that's a big one. But I think asking clients too is important. So
Yeah.
we do like surveys,
Yeah.
how many reviews you get. All of this gives you feedback. But ask clients, like have the nerve to ask them, how do you think I did? And you'd be surprised. Some people will just go, oh, you did great. And other people will tell you how you can improve. And don't shy away from that. Improvement is how mastery happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in closing, what's one key lesson you've learned about listings that you wish you knew when you first started?
The CMA is a job interview. So the CMA, the pricing, I went into it really in the beginning and I think most agents do. I'm here to price a house. I'm here to help provide value. And of course you are, but you're in a job interview. I can tell you that I've had past clients call me to price their house back in the day before I figured this out. And I was sure I was going to get that listing and that they wouldn't even talk to anybody else because we liked each other.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, someone else's sign goes up on the lawn and I'm like, I didn't tell them why they should list with me. I didn't go out of my way to explain it to them. It's a job interview. It's an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
You have a few minutes to tell them. And that's why I always pitch it before I give them the price instead of after. Because once I tell them the price of their house, they stop listening to me.
Yeah.
So I tell them about us first, and then I tell them about the price. And they need to hear that because I honestly believe that we're doing a great job and that people should list with us.
Yeah.
So if they don't hear this, then they can't make better decisions.
Yeah, and somebody comes into a listing presentation and you're telling them exactly what you're going to offer and what you're going to do for them, and you're going to be way more ahead than the person who just comes in and just gives a price and says, how are we going to do this? Because they're not showing a value. So show your value. It's very important. So that kind of brings us to a wrap for today. Once again, I would like to thank Chris for coming out and answering some questions. And next week we will also have a new set of topics. So this is Beyond the Sale, Real Estate Mastery.
Thanks,
Have a
Tom.
good day.